Hey, what is up, guys? And welcome back to this episode of Mugscast.
We're going to be talking about Avengers Age of Ultron today.
So I do not have any notes. I did watch it, but unfortunately I watched it while I was working, so I could not take notes, but Drew has aplenty.
Yeah, an unfortunately copious amount of notes for some reason. I don't know why I had so much to put down about this one.
Real quick, before we get into the notes, overall, how do you like this movie?
I really like this movie, but there's just something off about it. I don't know what it is. I don't know.
Yes,
I don't know how you feel about it.
I'm glad we're not recording in the same room because I could kiss you. I don't know
Wait,
what it
should you
is.
be unhappy that we're not?
No, yeah, you're right. I should be unhappy. You're right. No, but for real, I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it. But there is something about this movie that is off, and I don't know what it is. I do enjoy it, but there's something about it that just doesn't excel for me with it. I don't know what it is, but
there's so much good in this movie, but I think it's like, partially.
I think it's inflated.
They're squeezing. Yeah, I was gonna say they're squeezing a lot into one movie, and I think that might be the biggest issue.
I think that's what it is as well. I think they squeeze a lot.
So not everything gets the attention that it deserves, but the stuff that does works really well. Mm-hmm. And then even if when it doesn't, you can see I can see where that could have been amazing if they really honed in on that and and had a little bit less here and a little bit less there and focused on this thing.
Yeah.
But overall, I mean, I there's never a point where I was never disinterested in watching. I wasn't like, oh god,
no.
Again.
It still kept my attention.
It's a very enjoyable movie.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it opens straight up. The first shot is straight on the staff.
Yeah.
Just letting you know, immediately, this is important. We're
center point.
Yeah. Then we're straight into that snowy forest. It's in Sokovia, right? Because
I believe so. Yep.
And they're straight into the fight. You got Widow and Hawkeye in the truck. Everybody's doing their own thing. I noticed this. They're all they've clearly been experimenting with the Chitauri technology. The soldiers have these little jetpack propulsor things and.
Real quick to cut you off. Shout out to the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. people, because from my understanding is this is a payoff if you watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. up to this point. And up to that point. And apparently this is there's an episode or a season or something that ends and they're like, oh, I'm gonna call some friends, and then boom, it literally directly leads into this. Just so you know. I don't know if you knew that or not.
No, I had no idea.
Yeah, it's something like that. It has something to do with, I swear, I could be wrong. Somebody correct me, but I'm almost positive. That's a thing.
Okay, well, interesting. Also, I wrote in my notes, it was at this point, no one had talked yet, and Iron Man crashes into the building and says whatever he says, and I was like, oh, I forgot to turn off Japanese after watching Star Wars Visions. They started talking in Japanese. I was like, what happened? What did I do? It confused me so badly. I was like, oh, I'm a moron.
That's fine.
I believe there's a point Cap says something and talks to Jarvis, and you see a Stark satellite that he's kind of using, which is very interesting to kind of give them a bird's eye view of the battlefield and calls things out to them. And we get that shot. What do you think about this hero team up shot in comparison to the first one?
So I remember when I first saw it, I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. But I really like the first one more when you're talking about when it circles around them and they're all doing.
Where you get everybody, they're clearly, this is clearly an intentional sequel.
Obviously, but I still like the first one better than this one. I do. This one's good. It's great. I don't know. It's just that first one is just better in my opinion. Again, something's off about this one. I don't know what it is, but
I know. Yeah, I'd have to agree. I think the largest problem with it is that I'm pretty sure almost entirely CGI, as opposed to the first one. They did it, and the only thing that's CGI in that is Iron Man's suit and Hulk. But this one, I'm pretty sure literally every character is CGI, because Nat and Clint are jumping off the truck. They didn't actually do that.
Yeah, obviously.
Hulk is CGI. Thor is flying. Cap's jumping off a bike, or he's on a bike. It's you can tell something's a little uncanny valley about it. Something just seems off about this, but I do absolutely love the way that it you are tracking all of them through the forest, and then the camera just kind of swivels and they're just all there. Yeah, it's so
the concept is amazing. It's just something about
it just wasn't executed. Wasn't executed perfectly. I think it could have been better. If it was, it would have topped the first one. But I think there's just something off about it. Unfortunately, I do love that the way that was brought together. So they're fighting, doing their stuff, and Iron Man sends out the Iron Legion to keep a perimeter and like help the civilians essentially.
Yep.
And I was sitting there like, why? Maybe I missed something, but like, why is everybody like hating them? Like, what? They're like, no, let us go in there and get killed. What are you doing? Like, what is
Um,
there to hate about these robots that are clearly there to keep you safe? Like, these people know who Iron Man is.
yeah.
Oh,
Okay, never mind.
unless wait, were you about to say what I just figured out?
I think so, but go ahead. I don't think we're on the same page. Go ahead. Say what you're gonna say real
Like,
quick.
unless everybody in Sokovia was like kind of on the same page with Wanda and Pietro, and that when they got
Yes,
bombed, it was Stark.
I have a
That
feeling.
just clicked for me.
Yeah, I have a feeling that's exactly what it is. I think is these are refugees. These are, people that like like the Stark thing. They were affected by the
Yeah.
war. I do have that feeling. That's what it is.
Okay, it doesn't make sense when you first see it, but yeah, I guess now thinking back.
I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure they are part of like a war. I'm pretty sure.
yeah. Okay, that makes a lot more sense then. What's his name? Strucker. Strucker is like, we will never surrender. He's like, I am 100% surrendering right now.
Yeah. Yep.
And there's when Clint, well, they released the Pietro and Wanda, and they go out in the field, and
Wait,
they
did you
know,
skip over language?
huh?
Did we skip over language? We did.
Language. Oh yeah, that was when it was in Japanese.
Yeah. You skipped over it. Yeah. So there's a part because apparently it became a big deal. But yeah, there's a part where somebody curses and then Cap's like language, and then it's funny because they're like,
It gets called back like 6 different times. Nobody's
not even
go.
not even that. Like I'm saying, the first time that Iron Man calls back to it, like a bunch of stuff already happened. It's a good like 6-7 minutes pass, and then Iron Man's like, "Really? Nobody's gonna talk about the fact that Cap just said language?"
Yeah.
And then he's like, "I know." He's like, "I know." It just
slipped out. I really like it's especially funny when they just continually roast him later.
Yes,
But
they
I don't
roast
know
the
how I
shit out of
feel
him.
about it because like he's not that much of a goody two shoes. Like I feel like that's maybe a little bit out of character for at least the way that he was built up in the MCU. Like I don't think
Yeah.
I don't think he's walking around like no, potty mouth, you know?
especially after Winter Soldier, bro.
Yeah. I'm a little, yeah. He even says some stuff in Winter Soldier. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. I don't know if that's exactly on point there. But yeah, Quicksilver's out and he messes with Clint, makes him miss a couple shots, and then hits him. And then I guess he gets shot, right, by one of the cannons because Pietro didn't hit him like that.
No. Pietro didn't hit him.
I was gonna say because he is like, it's bad. Like he got
he gets
a
shot
chunk
by
of flesh torn off.
Yeah, he got shot by a cannon in the bunker because then Nat says, "Can somebody please take care of that bunker?" And then Hulk fucking destroys it.
Thank you easily. Yeah, like nothing. But yeah, I went back and paused it and rewound it, and like he got a chunk taken out of him. Like it's serious. But I mean, it's not actually serious because they have magic 3D printed skin. But so yeah, Tony breaks through like the shield and goes into the main base, takes out pretty much everybody in there, and then he goes down to the basement to get the staff. Or well, first he goes and he's like, Jarvis, give me a scan of the room. He's like, there's something over there, reinforced steel walls. He's like, please be a secret door, please be a secret door. And then he opens it and he's like, yay! It's like such a high pitch like yay! He's like so happy about it. As he starts to go down to the basement, I think they have Natasha start to calm down.
On the Hulk. Yep.
The Hulk.
Hey, by the way, I hate that we didn't get more of Natasha and Bruce. I actually really liked their relationship. I really did. They seemed almost perfect for each other.
That's one of the things that I think didn't get enough attention or wasn't focused on properly.
Yeah.
And there's some poor, like weird, like kind of awkward writing in there, but the base connection and like on paper works really well. I just don't think it was executed well, but I would have loved to see that evolve into something more because later they literally talk about it like in the scene in Hawkeye's house. Like she's like, they basically bring up like the connection that they have is like they're both like they can't have families, like they both have done horrible things. Like it makes sense. Like there's such an interesting connection there. And also, you got to think about as well, like there's also the connection that they've made through like him being the Hulk, and at this point they've been cleaning up like this Hydra thing, like the aftermath of Winter Soldier, which I also love, by the way, that they're still acknowledging that and kind of undoing it. But they've been doing that for like quite a while, you assume at this point. So they've done this whole lullaby thing to calm him down, like probably like 100 different times. So you got to assume that also is like that's also like a huge connection for them. Like even as the Hulk, he's there's something there that's like bleeding over.
Yeah. It's like you know how you're supposed to bring your girlfriend. You're supposed to bring your girlfriend to your mother for approval. It's like he brought Nat to Hulk for approval, and Hulk obviously approves. That's a for sure thing. So it's really hard for me. It's really hard for me sometimes, the relationship, because please tell me you've seen the GIF.
Yes.
Jesus, dude. It's really hard.
You have to say, huh?
That's all I have to say. That's all I have to say.
Lord.
So sometimes it's really hard for me to not think about that. It sucks, dude. But
I hadn't even thought about that at all until you said it, and then I just.
It's just the face. It's when he makes the face. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah. It gets me every time.
Well,
this shit is in my brain. Hey, if you know, you know. You know what I mean?
No. I'll put it in the video. I'm sure YouTube will be very happy.
Jesus.
Okay, so anyway, there's that first shot of it's Cap goes in and he's talking to Strucker, and Scarlet Witch comes up behind him, and what does she do? Does she just knock him over? She doesn't like go in his head.
She doesn't go in his head at that point. She does not.
She just like knocks him over, I think.
Yeah.
But then this is a problem. Like she goes and she closes the door or whatever, and it does not work. Like this first shot of that like little stylistic choice they made to have her like skipping frames, like she's like like you know what I mean? Like when she's like doing her weirdness, like there's this weird stylistic.
They try to make it like a witchy look.
It does not work on this first shot. It's the most cringy thing I've ever seen. But there are other times where it works, and I totally see what and again, I see where they were going with it, and I see the concept and how good that could have been. And there's parts where it is good, but it didn't pay off in all respects.
It did not.
But
not always. It was a hit.
And then you never see it again. But that's a directorial thing. So well, yeah. So then in the basement, she goes down and she gets Tony, and I immediately wrote like, that's more like it. When she gets Tony, it's super like creepy and weird. Like she just comes up behind him, and it's like super like skipping around. It's very cool.
Yeah.
And now I don't know if you remember this, and I think we might have even talked about it at one point. But back when this movie came out, and then when Infinity War came out and all this, people were like, "Wow, this was." Ended up being nothing. Like this like vision that he has isn't at all what happened in like Infinity War and all this. And it's like I used to be in that same camp too until now on rewatch. For some reason, like it just became really obvious. Like this is not a vision of the future. Like obviously, of course,
no.
He kind of talks about it as if it is, but of course he would, because it's his biggest fear. It's what like he is worried that that's going to happen. Like that is Tony's largest fear. So of course it didn't play out like that. I mean, there's some stuff like Captain America's broken shield and things like that did end up happening, but it's more like just, I mean, Tony's biggest fear came true, just not like that. Like that's just the vision that he happened to have, because of course that would be what he would see after New York and seeing the Chitauri and stuff, all that stuff. And it's so crazy that even Scarlet Witch is like, whoa, this guy is like messed up. She's like, I don't know about this. But then it's like super, I love the way that he's like, you're just gonna let him take it? And she just smiles, this like horribly creepy smile. And then you get that shot. Yeah, you get that shot of him just like grabbing it with the gauntlet and then straight into the title card, which I absolutely loved. Because that's such a perfect setup for the rest of the movie and where that's going. But yeah, how do you feel about that whole opening sequence?
The opening sequence is good. It still gets you hooked to this day. I like it. It's good. It's still, when I was watching that, I was like, I forgot Age of Ultron is still pretty decent of a movie. I do like that opening. I do. You get some jokes, you get some seriousness, and you get enough hooking in to be like, oh shit, like I can't wait to see where this goes.
Yeah, it's much more of it's a less serious intro than the Avengers. The Avengers is just like, Loki's here, he's killing everyone, things are exploding, like this is a mess, There is also the thing of, though, like they say they're cleaning up, Hydra and all that, but at the end of the Avengers, like everybody split up. There was no Avengers anymore, really, and now they're just kind of together. Like they never go over when they got them back together, how they got them back together. Like,
honestly, I think that's for the best, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, you don't want to spend too much time on it, but they could have just even been like a throwaway line or something, like just because like the Avengers ended with them being like they'll come back if we absolutely need them for like this world-ending threat, but they don't really, not just for cleaning up some Hydra like mess,
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, we're on the Quinjet, and Bruce is calming down still after being transformed, and it's great because what is it? Nat's like, Thor, how did he do or whatever? And he's like, the gates of hell are filled with the screams of his
Yes, yes.
victims.
And he's like,
It's
no,
like,
no. He's like,
whoa,
more like,
no.
yeah. He's like, nah, more like small. Like he tries to like change
Complaints
it.
and screams. The wounded, they're very wounded.
But yes, that part was really funny as shit.
And then they come in for a landing, and I'm never mind. I was completely wrong. There's Maria Hill immediately right off the bat, and then it completely explains like what she was applying for at the end of Winter Soldier as well to like work
Yeah,
for Tony. Hawkeye's getting patched up, and they kind of hint towards a little bit of his wife when somebody says something about him having a girlfriend. He's like, I don't have a girlfriend, which he
it's a
doesn't.
girl. It's Doctor. Fuck, what's her name? Cho? No.
Cho,
Yeah, it
yes.
is Cho. Okay.
Oh God, I can't remember her first name. Helen Cho.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then she doesn't want to go to the party, but she's like, well, will Thor be there though? And honestly, I mean, who can blame her?
Yeah. She's like, oh, will Thor be there? So I think it's gonna sound so weird. One of my favorite scenes in this whole movie is the party, by the way.
Oh, of course.
That whole party scene is really good. But before the party, we have Bruce and Tony, and they're talking down in the lab.
Mm-hmm.
And he's telling him, he's like, hey, I have this blah, blah, blah. They go over the Ultron thing.
Right. Yeah.
And Bruce is it in this one that he's not fully for it? Or he's all for it? No, he is all for it in this one, I believe. He's kind of sort of all for it. He's a little reluctant, but he does it.
Yeah.
He sets it up, and then Tony leaves it to be done on its own as he goes up to the party.
Yeah.
And then we have probably one of the best, in my opinion, one of the best voice performances ever, just in general. Absolutely love Ultron's voice. I love the acting in it. I love everything. It's so good. And it's funny because the voice always sounded familiar to me. So I decided to look it up way back in the day, the first time I watched Ultron. And I can't remember his name.
James Spader.
Thank you. Yeah. And for those who don't know, he plays in The Office.
Yes.
And he has like one of the best lines. Just please put a clip of it in the fucking video, Drew.
Okay.
He's like,
I will not be blackmailed by some ineffectual, privileged, effete, soft penis debutante. You want to start a street fight with me? Bring it on. But you're going to be surprised by how ugly it gets. You don't even know my real name. I'm the Lizard King.
I love that line, dude. It's so good. But he's so good. His voice, I think this is so good. He's talking to Jarvis.
Unbelievable. It's genuinely so like good. One of the easily like off the top of my head, like you can name like this is one of the best voice performances I have ever heard. Like there's just something about it that he's like putting everything he has into this performance.
He is acting, and it's amazing. And I want to see him come back for sure because it's so good. I'm telling you, when he played off the voice, when it first comes up, it comes through as concern. And then you can start to hear his emotion get rattled, and you can start to hear him, and he's starting to get irritated, and he's starting to get desperate, and you can hear that he's like, oh my God, there's so much going on, and you can hear that he's overloaded, and then he shuts down Jarvis, and you're just like, oh shit. But it's so good, like you said, he gives it his all, and it's amazing. It's amazing.
Start to finish. Fantastic. Yeah. I'm wondering though, this kind of like when they're talking about the potential to use the staff, they don't know at the time that it's a stone, but that the Infinity Stone within the staff to create Ultron.
No, they just think it's something very powerful.
Yeah. They don't know it at the time, but like he plays out a map of it and he's like, it's thinking or whatever. So like, are they implying that the Infinity Stones have consciousness? Or this
is the Mind Stone, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think the Mind Stone does have some kind of a conscience in a weird way. Because, it's a Mind Stone, so they can hear his thoughts. It's weird. But yes, it's a Mind Stone, and that's how you're supposed to meant to believe it, I'm pretty sure. The Soul Stone would probably have its own soul. But anyways, yes, go ahead.
They're walking and talking, and Tony's trying to convince him, and he mentions Veronica, and Bruce is like, yeah, well, I helped design Veronica, which is nice to throw that in there.
It is. It's funny because I didn't catch that. I caught it for the first time this time. Because I was like, oh shit, like that makes sense. Of course he would help him design it. He knows the weaknesses.
Like you said, Ultron kind of breaks free. Also, literally the second Tony walks away, he's like, let me know if we got anything. And he walks away. The second he leaves the room, it's like, boop, we got it.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then Jarvis tries desperately to call Tony, and he can't.
Yeah.
Like if Jarvis was a man at this point, he'd be hitting that fucking call button repeatedly, bro. I'm telling you, that's exactly what would be happening. But he can't. Not to take away from Paul Bettany, because honestly, his voice performance is also very well.
Yeah, it's been top tier ever since he started back in
Of course.
Iron Man 1. Yeah, so now we're in the party, and I always forget that Falcon and Rhodey are in this.
Yes, they are.
At least for this party scene, Falcon is. What? How do you like that?
I can't, dude. I'm already thinking about Rhodes, where he's like, I grab the tank and I throw it in front of this building. I'm like, boom, like, and Thor.
You looking for this?
Yeah, and Thor and Iron Man, they literally don't even bat an eye.
Is that it? And he's like, yeah, that's the punchline. He's like, yeah, it was
Great story,
very
story.
Humorous. Yeah,
yeah, it's so funny.
And then they start arguing about which one of their girlfriends is better, Jane or Pepper. Yeah. And then right after that, it cuts back to Rhodey telling a joke to like a normal group of people, and he's like, "Oh, you looking for this?" And they're like, "Yeah," and he's like,
"And they all overhyped the shit out of him."
You can see on his face, he's like, "Yeah, that's right." Yeah, Thor's got his special intense brew of alcohol, I guess. That he gives to Stan Lee.
Stan Lee cameo. It's a good one. It's a good one. He's like, "Hey," he's like, "Omaha wasn't meant for men too, and we handled that." And then he literally cuts to him just sloshed out of his mind,
dragged away. So he says Excelsior, which is great.
Yes.
This might be like one of the top more higher tier cameos. I like this one a lot.
Yes, I like this one a lot too.
I wrote here, I'd really, really would like to know, right? They're clearly fully acknowledged that the Incredible Hulk happened and is canon. Yes. And Abomination came back. They did some stuff in What If. The General Ross carried through. Yep. All this stuff, and I just want to know, like, what happened to Betty, because he's all in for Black Widow. Like, he just, does not care. There's no mention of it once. He's not like, exactly.
Do not care.
He's not like, well, I don't know, or I just got out of this other, but he's like nothing. Like there's he's just straight into like, where did she go? What happened?
Well, that's why the Incredible Hulk is a fucking super black sheep, though. Like that movie, that's why it's such a black sheep, because it's loosely canon. Yeah, it's like they nitpicked the parts that they wanted out of it and said fuck the rest. So
it's weird to me though that they didn't put just like a random
actress
like a one-off line, like like how in like Civil War and in this, like they just like Tony's like Pepper's running a company, or Civil War, he's like, we're not together right now, or and in Ragnarok they're like, Jane broke up with me, like just put one line in there, that's all we need. Like we'll be like, okay, well this is really just because she's not going to come back, but at least it explains it canonically,
her and I went to have sex and I crushed her, like I don't care what it is.
Okay.
Give me a reason.
Yeah, and then we get the hammer lifting scene, which is phenomenal. Just it's such a great scene. There's not, you don't even need to like, I don't even need to describe why it's so good. Like anybody, if you watch it, you just immediately like, okay, this is amazing. And this is the first time that I looked up. Tony goes to pick up the hammer, and he goes, I will be reinstating prima nocta, and
yes
and this is the first time I ever looked up what that meant.
Oh, you don't know what that is?
No, I'd never heard that before.
If I remember correctly, isn't that when like you're the king and you get to sleep with everybody's wives before they get married or some shit like that?
Yeah, it's the legal right of a monarch to with any female subject, particularly on her wedding night.
Yes, I was gonna say I knew what this was. But yes,
I did not know what it was, and I was just like, that must be something I didn't know, and I finally looked it up, and that makes that scene so much better, because of course that's exactly something he would say.
Yes.
And then of course the hammer moves just ever so slightly for Cap.
Super ever so slightly. And you see the worry in Thor's face for a moment.
Yeah. Now, I'm sure you've heard the theory of people talk about a lot that, and I'm not sure if it's debatable whether this is true or not, that he grabbed it, and as soon as he tugged on it, he could tell that he was worthy and could move it, and he just didn't want to embarrass Thor, so he didn't actually pick it up. What do you think about that?
I don't think that, because there's another theory that I saw that I actually think makes more sense. At the time, he wasn't worthy, because do you remember the line? I believe it's also on it says, "You, the soldier who is nothing without a war." Like, I think at that point, Captain America was not fully worthy yet, because he was not accepting the life that he had. Like, he was just one fight to another, and it was kind of like I don't want to say that he was depressed, but it was kind of like he was okay with just consistently fighting, even if he was doing it for the right reason. It's like he wasn't fully at what he was supposed to be at. I believe by Endgame, he's already accepted everything and he's okay with it. But I think here at this point, it's like a form of depression. He's not depressed, obviously, but it's like a form of like depression where it's like this doubt of his life because all he's focused on is war. Which there is a line that Ultron says like that, and it's true. It's like, what are you without war? So I just don't think he was worthy at this time. I think he was.
At the same time, though, I got a couple of counterpoints to that actually, because at first when you started saying that, I was like, okay, that's interesting. But then you think about it, the end of this movie, he's straight back into it. He's like Tony literally asked him, he's like, "How are you?" And he's like, "I'm at home." And he looks over like at the people training and stuff, and he's like, this is for me, like the training and fighting and war, like this is me." But not that he didn't like move on from it. If anything, he dived straight back into it.
Yes, but that's what I'm saying. At that point, I think he's accepted it. He's not conflicted anymore. He's okay with it because he's accepted it as his life. But I'm saying before this, he hasn't accepted it. He hasn't. He doesn't know what he wants. He's. I don't know how to explain it. He doesn't have like a full confidence behind his choice of whatever choice he's making. Even in the conversation that he's having with Tony, where they're sexily breaking apart them wood logs. You know what I'm saying? But when he's ripping apart the wood logs, like even that conversation that he's having with him is showing you he's conflicted. And you know what I mean? So like, I believe I can't remember correctly, but for you to be like worthy, like there has to be a confidence behind it. Like you have to be all in your thing of what you're doing for you to be worthy.
The other thing is like, is there? I can't. I mean, at least I've never imagined that there was an in between for worthiness that you could like slightly move it. I thought it was you're either worthy or you aren't. You know what I mean? Like you can't be in between. That's the only big issue that I feel like kind of disproves that.
But that's what I'm saying. Like you would think that disproves it, but at the same time, like you're right, there is no in between. But at the same time, it's like the Hammer kind of made his choice of like, hey, he's like as close as it gets to being worthy. You know what I mean? Like, and that's why Thor was like, whoa, like, oh shit, like, because even obviously Thor didn't know that himself, but like, that's what I mean. Like, the Hammer's gonna make, like, the Hammer's magical. It makes a choice. It knows. So I think it knew that he would be worthy, or he is partially worthy. I don't know how to explain it, man. There's so many theories around that scene. There really is.
And we'll probably never know for sure.
No, of course we're never gonna know. I just don't think he could have lifted it because honestly, I really don't think that at all. Don't get me wrong, Cap could be humble like that, but I don't think so.
So then Ultron stumbles in his little freaky little weird crappy little body and starts off his little speech.
He's like worthy. He's like, what makes any of us worthy, really, or some shit like that.
Yeah. And there's one point where he says something, and this I wonder if this was in a way kind of connected to in Iron Man 3. There's that point where Jarvis is kind of still malfunctioning, and he messes up like the last words of his sentences.
Yeah.
And in this, he's in this like terrible body, still getting used to his voice and everything. And there's a point where he's like, he says something, and he's like, "Not this Christmas," and it kind of like glitches out, and it seems like he was gonna try to say something else, but then he says Christmas because like that's not a saying. I don't think I've never heard somebody say "not this Christmas." So I just wondered if that was
line, but maybe
if that was kind of like a not a callback, but just like to kind of show you that he hasn't fully gotten his legs together yet. Like he's still figuring things out.
Yeah, and then they have this little fight, which honestly, very quick thinking on Cap's part. He throws up the table and he gets launched backwards. It's a quick little fight. It's very, very, these robots ain't shit. They're nothing.
They get ripped
apart.
The only reason it is anything is because they're not prepared.
Fully prepared, exactly.
Yeah.
Partying. I mean, let's be honest. They're probably drunk. Like they're probably a little bit drunk.
That's true, also. Yeah.
But but I mean, they take them out, and then you have probably one of my favorite lines, which is "There are no strings on me." I love the delivery of that line. But like again, it goes back to his voice acting. His voice acting is so good. It's like when he needs to be
creepy with it too.
Yes, when he needs to be creepy, he's creepy. When he needs to sound cocky. Like it sounds cocky. It's just amazing. And yes, obviously his voice is altered, but the emotion behind it is not.
Yeah. His voice is very clearly there. Like it's just more like to add a robotic sound to it. It's not that they're editing it much beyond that. Like that's still primarily his voice.
It is, but it's amazing.
It's also at this point during the fight, one of the bots that he's controlling, you see it goes after the doctor or after Helen. And you see
Yes.
him like hesitate, and this is like the first he immediately recognizes like, oh, she could be useful. I'm leaving her alive, which was
Yes.
interesting. Yeah, he takes or he doesn't take off. I think what is it? Cap
He gets destroyed.
destroys his body, and then he escapes into the internet.
Yep. Which I mean
And,
sounds weird, but makes sense.
Yeah. Then we kind of cut back to them all kind of discussing what's going on, and Tony's there, and Thor shows back up from trying to track him down. He's like, "This is insane. You're insane, Tony. Like you, what's wrong with you?" And I love he just like can't like hold back his laughter, like because it's just he's
like,
just like, and Bruce is
oh
looking
wait,
at him
Bruce is like, no, now's not the time. He's
this is not a good idea.
He's like, no, stop. He's like, now's not the time. He's like, clearly you can't read the room.
Even though I think the reason Bruce said that is because Bruce also was kind of feeling the same way. Like I feel like if nobody else was around, they both would have been having like a real good laugh about it. Because like it is, I mean, to them, especially Tony, like it's probably like especially funny because of the concept, like the whole cliche stereotype actually happened. Like he created an AI and it turned evil and like started killing people. And so like to him and like to me, like, even to me, like I'd be like that, like. You'd be like so overwhelmed with everything. You'd probably just be like, this is kind of funny though. Like we totally destroyed everything. And so I love that. And then so they kind of get into it. Tony, during that same argument, Tony also brings up New York. He's like, remember when I took a giant missile through a wormhole in space? Does anybody remember that? And Rhodey's like, nope, never heard of it. Never come up.
Yeah.
And then there's also Cap. He's like, how are we planning on beating this stuff if it ever comes back? And Cap is like, together. Which is a very nice payoff when it comes to Endgame.
It's iconic at this point because it's important, because it's not even just, it's a nice payoff to Endgame because he says, how are we going to win this if it happens again, together. He's like, and if we lose, we'll do that together too.
Yep, and
it
goes for Infinity War and Endgame, yeah.
They did both of those things together. Sort of, because, they got split off in Infinity War, and then Tony gets back to Earth and Endgame, he's like, what is it that you said? We'll lose together, right? He's like, well, where were you? Like,
oh, yeah. Yeah, that's true. Wow, yeah.
Yes.
That's great. I can't wait to get back to
that. Me too, dude. I can't wait to watch Endgame and Infinity War again. Ooh.
Yeah, Wanda and Pietro go to the church to meet with Ultron, and
hold on. I want to make sure we say this real quick, because I meant to say it earlier. I did tell myself, trying not to forget. I don't hate this Quicksilver. I do get he is inferior to the other Quicksilver, but I don't hate this rendition of Quicksilver. I just want to make sure we throw that out there. Marvel could have done a much better job at showing off his speed.
I mean, I agree, but I also disagree. It's like some points it doesn't work, but there's some points that we'll talk about that are just like, woo, that's really good. Yeah, like really good. To me, it's more about his character than anything that kind of drops the ball, and not even necessarily just his character, but it's more the writing and the accent. The accent.
Oh my god! Don't! I honestly thought we were gonna go through this whole episode without discussing the accents. Because we have to. They're horrible.
No, just for him specifically. Like Wanda,
even Wanda's no. The reason
Wanda's
it's horrible.
Acceptable. Like it doesn't stand
it's acceptable. It's acceptable. But the reason it's awful is because she loses it.
Yes.
And it's just like, okay.
Yes, but
his is bad. His
bad. Like the first line he says is, "Oh, you didn't see that coming," and it's like it just stands like that line isn't terrible, but it makes that whole scene so cringy because of the way that it has to be delivered through that accent. It just don't do it. Like just no, please. I don't know. Like just say that the Mind Stone gave them English accents. I don't care. Just get it out of there. Like it was a problem for me. That's the biggest issue. Like if he didn't have that, like if he just had a normal accent. Normal accent. I sound if he had an English accent, like I think it would have improved the delivery of his lines. Like it would have come off a lot less cringy.
And for those who don't know, that actor is Kick-Ass. For those who don't know, which is awesome.
Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Yes.
Yeah. So they go to the church to meet with Ultron, who they don't know is Ultron yet. And when he first stands up, that you just see that full Ultron design, and my God, it's so good looking.
Sexy. Yes. Very good looking. Because she's like, I can't read his mind. She's like, most men break, and he's like, I am not a man. And the way he like turns around and reveals himself, it's like, oh, okay.
And he's like huge. I forgot how big he was.
He's massive.
Like 9 feet tall.
Massive. Yep.
Yeah, that design is just fantastic. Like I think overall Ultron, like as a villain, has problems just in terms of like there's not enough there for like why he wants to do what he does. Like
Yeah.
he's just like, well, I'm supposed to protect the Earth, so let's just kill everybody, and humans need to evolve. Like the typical kind of like run over thing that's
Yeah.
happened a million times. But if they had, I don't know, if they'd done a little bit more there, like everything, like all of his line deliveries, the stuff that he says, the design of him, everything is so perfect aside from his motivations.
Yeah, but that's not anybody's fault. Well, this is the writer's fault, but
Yeah, that's the only thing that stops him from being like a really top tier villain. I feel like
they should have honestly gone over his motivations a little more. Like they could have had him go out to the world and see terrible shit. They could have had him view some of the worst videos on the internet for all I care. Some of the more gruesome something.
Well, he does. That's kind of the whole
point.
I
know he does, right? But it's like they could have. I don't know how to explain it. They could have made it better. They could have like pushed it out there for you to really see it. You know what I mean? Like obviously they can't show like really bad shit, and obviously he was scouring the internet. But it's like they should have pushed it harder. I don't know how to explain it. I
just don't think that works in general to have his programming be or whatever, like have his initial thing to be like protect the world and then have it somehow get twisted into destroy the entire world.
Well, it makes sense. Listen, it makes sense because think about it like this, right? How much of the media do you see that's good compared to how much do you see that's bad, right? So most of the stuff you see on the internet, most of the articles, most of the stories, most of the videos, most of the things, people pull out their cameras when it's something more bad than when it's good, right? So it would corrupt him. Like just seeing a lot of the bad stuff on the internet would corrupt him because I feel like generally there's more bad on the internet or on the news or in articles than there is good. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so
True,
to him seeing all this, he's like, oh shit, like this is so bad and humans are terrible. So yeah, they could have done a much better job at explaining it. But I also understand why.
I just think it would have been a little bit better for me if maybe it was more, it was less like he made this ridiculous decision that like the Avengers are bad and everyone needs to die. If instead maybe it was just like I don't know, a glitch or something else was introduced, something else was mixed in there that was bad. You know what I mean? Like some other thing that caused that switch. Because instead it's just like he wakes up, he's normal and he wants to protect people, and then he's like, they've not only am I gonna kill everybody, but also the Avengers are like a cancer. Like they're not helping anybody. Yeah, like that doesn't make any sense. Like if he was watching all the videos, he'd be like, okay, they're like clearly trying to help people, but he has like this whole different like it just doesn't work for me personally. But at the same time, I love like everything like once his motivation gets out there, everything that he does after that is so dope. Like his plot to drop we'll talk about it.
We'll get more into it, but yes.
Yeah, so we're going to Claw now. This is the first time we see Ulysses Claw, played by Andy Serkis, who does a phenomenal job, by the way.
A very ridiculous character, but in a very good way.
Yeah, it actually makes me very excited to go back and see Black Panther again. Now seeing him here, I really enjoyed this. Yeah. So he shoots a bullet and Quicksilver runs in and it's just instant. Like you just see the casing back on the back on the thing and the gun sit there like unloaded, and it's like that's pretty dope. Like that's a good way to show
that's awesome. That's a very good way to show his speed.
He loses his arm here because he makes the mistake of comparing Ultron to Tony. Which I do like that. I like that as well. The kind of hatred that he has. Yeah.
But you know what's funny about that scene?
What?
That's Ultron at his most Tony. That's like you hurt his pride, so he's like, "Fuck you!" But it's like Ultron is a very evil Tony at the end of the day. Like this is, I feel like what Tony Stark would be. Yeah, but yeah,
that's kind of the whole underlying message of the movie is that Tony can't always tell right from wrong when it comes to trying to protect the world and other people. Like he's so dead set on this mission that he can't really. He gets blinded by it. He gets tunnel vision.
Yes, very much so.
And that also is, of course, our Star Wars reference of getting the arm cut off for this movie.
Sir.
And I'm getting.
I was wondering if you were going to say it or not because I was about to say it.
I cannot, for the life of me, imagine what it is in Ant-Man, but we'll get there. I guess.
I know what it is. I already know what it is. I can tell you, but we'll wait. I want to see if you catch it.
Let's see it. Yeah.
It's there. It's just weird. It's weird. Don't think cut off, but we'll see.
Okay. So the Avengers show up, and I love Thor, so I think it's Thor. It's like nothing has to get broken here, and Ultron's clearly you've never made an omelet, and Tony's like, you beat me by 1 second. And it's like,
and again, there's similarities. So
Of course, that's what Tony would say.
Yes.
And then when they start fighting, and Quicksilver there's that one like little like nice like 20-25 second shot of him just running right through the middle of them, like everything is going on around him. Full slow-mo, he's like ducking under the shield, he like punches Cap or somebody and like knocks them off their feet. It's phenomenal, like so cool, and a great way to show it while also still being different from the Fox stuff. Like if they had done more of that, but I feel like they also just didn't focus on Quicksilver that much, and I think that's why.
They did not, and honestly, that's what kind of made people be like, "Oh, the Fox one is so much better," because they kind of like, I don't know if you know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is the Fox X-Men focuses a lot on Quicksilver.
On Quicksilver, that's what I mean. And Quicksilver, I don't know if you know this or not. Quicksilver is a very powerful character.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, like he is like God tier. He's good. He's strong. So we didn't get
somebody
that.
with super speed. They're immediately.
Yeah, they're immediately God tier. You know, when they know what they're doing with it. But Quicksilver is really strong. But yeah, you know, this fight, you know, with him is really good until he gets stopped.
By the hammer.
He gets cocky. Yes, he gets very cocky.
He doesn't know. Like,
he doesn't know.
Nobody knows that that's a thing. So he's like,
and he
let me use this.
And he goes to grab it, and the fucking hammer sends him off.
He's gone.
So good.
Yeah. So Scarlet Witch.
Also, wait. Also, I assume he does not get hit a lot, right? So I assume this took him out because this did take him out of the fight for a few. So I'm assuming this is the first time he felt like real pain.
Slammed in the wall.
Yeah. And like,
At the same time, though, I pointed out like he's got to have a little bit more than just super speed because, like, I mean, at the end in the end fight, you know, he gets shot once, like in the arm. They clip him, and he doesn't react at all. He's like, guys, what's that? Like, and then he just keeps going. Like he just got shot in the arm. Like, not like he didn't graze him. It went straight in one side and out the other of his arm. He's just like, nah, that's nothing. So I'm like, there must be something more there to that than just super speed. Yeah, Scarlet Witch starts hitting everybody, and you know they're all starting to see these nightmares and visions. And
please don't overlook Thor's line where he's like, he goes, hey, she's trying to do some kind of mind trick, but the mighty Thor can't be. And he like walks out, he's straight into it. He's back at fuck, I can not remember what it's called right now. Holy shit.
Whoa, me either. What is going on?
Braveheart, people. Asgard, yes, thank you.
Yeah,
he's back at Asgard.
There. And I was like, whoa, it's like, and he's short hair and everything. It's like weird. It's like, oh, there he is. And he's like, you killed us all.
Yep.
And he gets flashes of the Infinity Stones and Vision, like super quick, like couple of frames of just like Vision's face and like 3 of the Infinity Stones, which was cool.
Yes, very cool.
And Black Widow's vision is like what I wanted out of the Black Widow movie. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like that. There was something just like there was one point. Oh yeah, she's like, you could tell she's clearly like they say it explicitly, but she's like intentionally messing things up to try and get them to not let her quote unquote graduate because she knows what's going to happen. Yeah. And then it shows it on. It's just like so dark. It's horrible, but I love it.
Yeah. No, for real, I agree. I wanted to see more of that era of her life, but you know, whatever. We got what we got, and that was it.
She goes after Hulk now, and we get you see that first shot of him like looking down at the city, and then he turns around, you see his face, and at this point, I was like, my God, the most impressive CGI in this is him.
Yes,
like this, I honestly think. This might be the best Hulk has looked.
Yes, and props because I don't know if you noticed, right? It's funny because we said in the Incredible Hulk, you know, this is the most animalistic we've seen Hulk, but no.
Yes,
this movie,
yes, absolutely.
Yes, he's very gorilla-like too. Like, you know that part where she's just like singing him the lullaby. I'm air quoting, by the way. We can't see each other, but where she's singing the lullaby, and he sticks his hand out. You know, like she sticks her hand out, and like he rubs it. Like that's an ape thing of getting like permission. Like, I don't know if you know that or not. That's like ape behavior. Like that's how they ask for permission, and then like the hand gets grazed, and they're like, "You get permission," and then boom, he changes back. Yeah. So he's very ape, very monstrous, very. I forgot how good he was in this movie, though. But yes, I agree.
Wild, like it's so well done. Shout out to literally everybody who put in work on creating that and CGI. Like you're like so like such talent went into that clearly. And I really think like this is I think in Ragnarok there's a little bit too. It's almost a little bit too more like comic booky, like cartoony.
Yep.
Which was necessary, I guess, to have him, be talking all the time. But for this, it's just like I think this is the best Hulk.
This is the best animalistic Hulk we have gotten.
Yes, for sure.
So good. The fight between him and Tony. Oh, and how the fuck? We didn't get to see what was going on in his head, but I would have loved it. Yeah, I would have loved to see what his biggest fear was for him to not be able to calm down. You know what I mean?
Well, I wonder, like, I kind of seem like
It's
maybe
Hulk.
she was doing something different to him, though, because everybody else is just, like, they're just, like, sitting there, like, eyes rolled back, and they're just, like, in their heads. He's, like, going crazy. I think she might have just triggered something to make him super mad. Like, I don't think he is seeing anything. Unless he did see something and it made him mad.
Yes, that's what she did.
Because he's not seeing it while he's fighting Tony.
No, but she triggered Bruce, and when you trigger Bruce, that's when Hulk is allowed to come out. So obviously, they're two different mindsets. So Bruce is the one under control, while boom, Hulk was roaming loose.
Mm-hmm. Here's another, like, this is a huge, like, this is one of the greatest parts of this movie, this whole fight. And when this movie came out, you know, they used it all up in the marketing. Like, this was like the big thing to come and see the movie, like the Hulkbuster versus Hulk fight.
Yes.
And like, imagine if they didn't put that in there, and this was like a surprise. How mind blowing that would have been.
Yeah,
like,
it's
it
true.
would have been insane.
But I will
forever rally against these trailers.
Nah, see, you say that, right? But again, props for building it up to making you think this big fight was going to be a thing. And it wasn't. It was in the first, like, half of the movie. It was barely anything. It was so good. Like, they made you think this was going to be, like, the last 45 minutes of the movie that they were going to have to fight this Hulk. And it wasn't. It was more in the first 45 minutes to the hour. And it's like, oh, shit. Like, if we're seeing this now.
I never got that vibe.
No, I definitely did. I definitely was like, oh, shit. Like, this is going to be, like, something big. Like, obviously, Hulk's going to get turned against him and, like, close to the final fight. Not the final fight, but close to the final fight. And no, not even close. So much happens after this. So much.
And then, you know, so they like I said, they talked about how they designed Veronica, and it immediately drops in and locks him in this cage. But like, clearly they didn't think far enough. Like, they just didn't think about the fact that he can, like, dig through the crown and get out from underneath it. So immediately there's a flaw. Like, immediately he starts figuring out ways to just like,
which also goes to show you Bruce's lack of knowledge of the Hulk.
Yeah, or more just like when you back an animal into a corner, that's like when it's most dangerous.
Too. Yes, also true.
So, yeah, you know, they go through this whole fight. He's beating the crap out of him, and vice versa. And there's different parts that I love, like
scenes that I love where he hits him. Like, I think he made him bleed, or he busted a tooth or something.
Yeah,
and he's like, and then Hulk spits.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I like that part because then Tony's like, sorry. Like, dude, it's so high pitched. Anyways, go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so, you know, he has like the hammer punch and everything. Yep. Like, you can see like the design in this. Like, and then also there's a point where he's like, as he's hammer punching him, then Hulk is like strong enough to completely stop it and grab it. And then then they designed in this thing that like grabs his fist, like the whole arm transforms, and then he flies away with him. It's like, this is like really great. And then he's like, how quickly can we buy this building? And goes into the construction site and just. And the other thing I love about it is like when you're seeing them actually fighting and Tony fighting him, like they get super lucky, and, you know, like, this elevator people doesn't die and all their attacks land like without hurting people. But before Tony gets there, and even when he's there, like, people died. Like, a lot of people died.
Oh, 100%. No, for sure.
Like, Hulk definitely killed a bunch of people. Even while he was trying to fight him, he's dragging him through buildings. And when that construction site went down, I mean, it was on its own, but I don't know. Like, there's probably something flew out and killed somebody. Like, they're not going to show it because they can't, but like, you can just intuit, like, people died 100%. Yeah. So I like that. Yeah, so he knocks him out. He kind of starts to transform back when he sees all the people like freaking out and in distress. Like, Bruce kind of starts to break back through, but then he gets shot at and he's about to go crazy again, and then he just gets his lights knocked out by Tony.
But on the part where Tony has him down, he's like, go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep.
Yeah, that's the hammer punch. Go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep.
I love that part. Yeah, but that fight was really good, though. It's quick, but it was so good.
Phenomenal. Yeah, everything about that, the look, the way the Veronica Hulkbuster suit like functions and looks, and the way it like flies to him, and they also knew, like, if Hulk does get onto him, he's gonna start beating pieces off of him like left and right. So we need to have extras that he can like send in to give him more armor. Yep. Phenomenal. Just such a great design and concept. So then they get back on the jet, and Clint is like, we're going to a safe house. And this is my first time ever being like, wait a minute, like, this makes no sense. Like, what man in his right mind would be like, I'm going to bring my entire team who is wanted by this insane homicidal robot with millions of, like, who's in the internet and can find anything. I'm gonna bring him back to my family with my 2 small children and wife. Like,
Yeah.
you would never do that. That's a horrible idea. Like, what an
Well,
insane risk. Even if you're like, well, Fury put it off the grid and Shield helped me do this.
well,
Like,
he was off the
there's
grid.
still no. You don't take, even if there's a 0.1% chance that anything happens. You don't do that. Like,
Well, he was
like,
confident in
Jesus.
it because it's not in the data files, it's not on the internet, it's not anywhere. The Quinjet that they were driving in has that super stealth shit, as we know.
Yeah.
You know, it has Tony stealth stuff. So they knew they couldn't be charged by Ultron. He knew it was okay. He had that much trust in all that. But yeah, you're right. He shouldn't have gone to his home.
Yeah,
but it's also the
like,
only place. It's also the only place he knew that was off the grid completely. So I get it.
true, but like I said, like even if there's like a 1% chance that anything would happen, like when it comes to your family, like that's wild. I mean, like I guess I respect it, but also like not respect it. Like I don't know. But yeah, they go in and they finally found out that he has a wife and the 2 children. The wife walks in and Tony's like, "This is an agent of some kind. This has to be an agent." And then the kids run in and he's like, "Those are just
tiny
2 smaller agents."
Yes. But it's cool because none of them knew about him, about his family, except obviously
Nat. Yeah.
Nat. And I mean, she obviously knows him very well because they call her
Auntie
or
Aunt, yeah.
Yeah, Aunt Nat or whatever. So obviously she's known them very well. I mean,
the wife,
she's naming the kid. She was going to name the kid,
Natasha, like Junior or whatever, and it's Nathaniel. So they still kept the thing. They just swapped the gender.
You have a very human moment with Black Widow, which I do feel is very nice for her, where she like leans over and she's like traitor into like the belly. Like that moment is honestly very human and very like it levels her out very nicely. It's such a simple thing, but it levels her out to be such a normal person.
Yeah. And the wife,
by the way, says, hold on. By the way, you know how I would have done a Black Widow origin movie? So, we would have just had an origin, just have her origins, right? Have everything, show how everything she went through, blah, 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 right? And then at the end of the movie, right, I would have had it like, so it would have started to fade to black, right? And as it fades to black, you start to zoom out, and it like the black would be like, the black part of the eye. And then like it would be zooming out as she's falling. Because, your life flashes before your eyes, like right before you die.
Yeah, that
like,
would be
an
impactful way to put it.
Yes, it would have been amazing because you would have been reminded she died, but it still would have given us an origin story. I would have preferred it that way, but whatever.
For sure. But at the same time, I guess they're trying to make it for the crowd of people that for some reason would watch these in chronological order, which I can't ever imagine doing, but some people will do that, and it'll be like their first time ever watching these movies, and they'll be like, wait, she's dead? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I guess it would kind of throw that off. But so the wife says something to Tony. He's like, why did you never like come by and see us or whatever? He's like, oh, I'm sorry, I was really busy, having no idea you all existed.
Yeah. No, he's like, he says, what is it? He says, oh, we would have called, but I had, he's like, but I was busy, having no idea you existed. Yeah, so good.
And so this, as much as I am against kind of the concept of him bringing them here after this, at the same time, I kind of have to accept it because of how fantastic everything at the house is, and especially Hawkeye. Hawkeye in general in this movie is fantastic.
Lovable.
Yes,
why though,
they
right?
took this time to really focus in on him, and it's really great.
Agree or disagree? You ready? They were building up our thoughts that Hawkeye was gonna die. Think about it. They were building it up to make it seem like he was gonna die, dude. It was cliche.
Instead of Quicksilver, 100%.
Yes,
they were 100%. You're like, oh, he's gonna sacrifice himself, and then he's gonna have a sad family. Yeah.
No way they weren't building that. Of course they were. But yeah, anyways, you know what ruins that whole moment though? Had they not had right before he dies, so I'm skipping a little bit, but he ends up like dying and Quicksilver saves him, right? Had they done that scene without panning over to Quicksilver for a second while he thinks, and then, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. It would have been way better than him panning over. Like if he had just done the car movement, he has the speed to do it. Come on, let's be honest.
Right.
Had they just done that part instead of having, panning over to him where he's like clearly about to think about saving him, dude, that scene would have been way better. But anyways, back to
agree.
Where we were.
Where were we? Yeah, he's amazing in
Every
this
day
movie.
Farm. Yep.
And then we get Bruce and Nat, the little shower scene. and them
Again,
talking, and it's a lot of good character development for both of them.
so good. Again, extremely, extremely human moment. She is human, and when I say human moment, I mean human moment, and you forget that she's an assassin and she's just a regular person in the scene because they both made a mistake because he comes out and she's like, "Oh, I didn't know you were waiting," or he's like, "I didn't know you were waiting." She's like, "Yeah." She's like, "I would have joined you, but I'm not really sure." He's like, "Well, I wasted all the hot water." She's like, "Well, I should have joined you."
Should have joined you.
And then they're talking and they have, they're having this back and forth, and he's like, "I can't have kids. We can't really have physical, intimate contact like that." She's like, "I can't have kids." She's like, "I was sterilized," I think is the word she used, or made sterile or whatever it is she said.
Sterile.
And you can tell that kills her. You can tell that she has so much pain when she says that. She has very painful moments in this movie, but that one you can tell hurts her.
Right.
And then they make the plan. What is it? Is it to run away together? Or am I speaking too soon?
Yeah, he talks about it. He's like, so what is it? We just run away together or what?
Yeah.
And I can't remember what she says back or something. I can't exactly remember, but
I think she's all for it. I think they're both for it, but something happens where they can't.
yeah, again, like there's a lot there that could be so much, but like they don't focus on it enough. And when they do focus on it, there's some iffy writing, but there's still that core concept that is really good that could have been expanded on if they kept going with it. But it's in the past now. Can't change it. So
can't change it.
So then we get the wood pile chopping scene. They're chopping and talking.
Love this scene, by the way. Love this scene.
Yeah, I love the way it looks. Just
not even the way it looks.
Looking scene too.
Let's talk about fucking Tony.
I'm not talking about the cinematography. I'm talking about.
I gotcha. But let's talk about Tony's smugness for a minute, right? Because, oh my god, it sucks that I can't remember this line. I told myself not to forget, but I did, right? Because Steve kind of throws a dig at Tony, and Tony's just like, he either just rolls with it or he doesn't care. But Steve's like, Tony's like, "Oh, Thor left, but he didn't tell me where he was leaving." And then Steve's like, "Yeah, there's a lot of He's like, "There's a lot of that going around lately," or something like that.
Yeah, like you're not telling people stuff, basically.
Yeah, and then Tony's just like, anyways, like, bro, he just literally brushes past it and just continues the conversation like normal, and it's just it comes off so smuggishly asshole in that, like, because he knows it's his fault, he knows it is. And you know that the guilt's killing him, but at the same time, he's going to move past it. He's not going to admit that he's guilty about it. He's not going to admit that it's bothering him, but it is. But they have their back and forth.
Yeah, and it leads to Cap getting extremely upset and just ripping a piece in half with his hands.
Oh, amazing.
Which is great. And, they did it pretty practically. Like, they had something for him to rip apart, so it looks good. And the wife comes up.
Yep. I already know you're building up, but please go ahead.
Yeah.
It's probably one of my favorite lines. It's one of my favorite lines. Please, I'll let you deliver it. Go ahead.
The wife comes up and she is like, "Hey, our tractor, is not working. Clint said you could actually fix it for us." And he's like, "Yeah." And then as he walks away, he's like, "Don't take from my pile."
Yes, dude. That line literally, it was funny because I laughed. I was in the cash office and I actually laughed out loud, and somebody was sitting out there like, "What the fuck's so funny?" But I love that line. I forgot about that line, but it's so fucking funny. He's like, "Don't take from my pile." Every
single I think Tony, he has to be like pretty much the best character in the MCU. Like he genuinely. He's it's like top 2, top 3. Just because the way he's written, everything out of his mouth is always quotable or funny or something. There's just everything about him is amazing.
But anyways, yes. And then he goes to fix the tractor.
Yes. Well, I think it actually cuts. Or does he go to? No, I think it cuts first to Thor going to get Selvig.
Oh, and yes.
It's just really quick. He just shows up and gets Selvig, and then it cuts back. But I just wrote down Selvig is doing really well now. You can tell he's clearly very cleaned up, probably teaching somewhere. It looks like so. That's good to see. And then he goes in to fix the tractor, and voila, Nick Fury.
Yep.
Which is kind of surprising. The first time you see that, I was like, "Whoa, okay, he's
there."
Also,
let's fix our mistake because we said that this is one of the last times we see him for a while. And we were wrong.
He's right back. He's right back. Yeah, he's kind of trying to
nudge
Tony in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
And they go back inside. Well, Tony's like, I saw us all all dead. I saw them all dead. And it was my fault. The end of the path that I started us on. And basically talking more about that this is his biggest fear. This is what's caused everything is how afraid he is. He has to have the best arc, I think, out of anybody in the whole MCU. Just
for sure.
like through Iron Man, like from the Avengers to the PTSD of that affecting him in Iron Man 3, then to this, it's still affecting him because he's still terrified of what could happen, and that causes him to lead to create this. And
how did I not think of this? Now I feel really fucking dumb, right? Because Vision wasn't a part of it at this point. Okay, so think about it like this: Vision, and the only one that originally died from like the OG Avengers is Natasha.
Mm-hmm.
And so Tony did a really good job actually protecting all the people he cared about, like through his whole arc. Like his fear did not come as true as he thought.
Aside from Infinity War,
obviously
broke him.
Yeah, of course. But they were able to bring him back. But at the end of his arc, everything said and done, the only person who really, really died, besides Vision, is Natasha. Like really died. That was like a gut punch.
Yeah, and I mean, Vision is clearly coming back in some form.
Oh, of course. But yeah,
really, it's just Natasha. She's got the bad end of the stick there. So then they're inside, and Fury's talking, kind of getting them, trying to get the team back together like he usually does.
Yeah, and he tells him, hey, he warns him she has the power to scare you, to bring your fears. He does tell them what she does.
Right. And he also has a line where he's like, "These robots are multiplying faster than a Catholic rabbit," which I liked.
Yeah.
And then we go to Ultron starting to get Helen to create the body, his vision, and this is when he breaks open the thing. And I guess he's just like, he's literally smarter than everybody else because he immediately is just like, oh, there's a stone in there. Like there's something else. Like not even Tony figured that out. He just immediately is like, there is something else. Pops it open, boom, Infinity Stone. They start to put it in, start to create the body, hook him up, and transfer the conscious and all that stuff. And they kind of figure out that they send Tony to like the internet hub, like the world's internet hub, to kind of, what are they trying to do? They're trying to figure out like somebody is changing the nuclear codes.
Yes, they're looking for a name, information on this name because they have no idea what it is, and they're like, oh well, they're all the traces of this have been deleted on the internet, blah, blah. They're like, oh, not everything. And then he has some archives. I can't remember the name. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, yes, but also they talk about that somebody has been stopping Ultron from
within,
access to the nuclear codes. And so he goes down there and he's trying to figure out what's going on and all this. And he walks up to the terminal and he's like, oh, I'm decrypting nuclear codes and you don't want me to. Whatever he does, he like sings a little song. And the people are just standing like, who is this guy? Why do we let him in here? And I can't remember what he finds in there. I guess I think this is when he figures out that it's Jarvis. He just doesn't say it yet.
He doesn't say it, yeah. Because he has to rebuild him. Right.
So then they go and they figure out like what's going on. And they send Cap and he goes in and finds that. Oh, well, I guess before that, you get Pietro and Wanda, like basically kind of they get their first inkling they're going to turn on Ultron because she starts to read his mind through the vision body and realizes what his actual plan is. And she's like, nah, this is not what we signed up for.
She's like, nah, that's whack.
Yeah, that's for real. That's really not cash money of you, Ultron. And she releases the grip, which we kind of forgot to mention. He uses the scepter as well to like Loki to influence Helen.
Yeah, yep.
And so she releases that hold on her, and then Helen, rather than like using that and doing something with it, she just like immediately is like, I'm not under your control anymore, and just hits a button. Like, of course he's gonna shoot you in the face. Like, bide your time. Like, do something better. Like, that was like the stupidest way she could have done that. But I mean, at least she stopped it, I guess. So she gets like blasted across the chest, and so then a little bit later, you get Steve coming in, and he finds her. And I was thinking, like, this is really like she lives, I guess.
Yeah.
But like when you walk in and see her like completely bleeding across the chest, like slashed the chest, like I feel like it's out of character for Steve to just leave her there. He's just like, he doesn't even say like, oh, you'll be all right, we're sending somebody, or I'm gonna stay with, like, nothing. He's just like, where do I go? What is he doing? And then he just dips, and she's just like left there to essentially bleed out. Like, she lives and somebody gets her, I guess, but it just felt like in the context of the movie, like not something that he would do.
No. It is in this movie specifically because it goes back to his head's very into the war like situation. Like, he wasn't himself. Like, if you So if you go back, it's like you said it yourself. Is there something about his character that's off in this movie? And it is. It is. Like, his character is very different, and I think that's deliberate. I don't know, there's something about him, his character in this movie that's very different compared to how we've seen him throughout the whole MCU. But in this one, he's very, like, clear-cut, like, military, to the point where he does not worry about her. He's just like, I'm worried about my target. Like, he's worried about the mission.
That's strange, though, because that doesn't really make sense, especially after Winter Soldier, where the whole arc for him there was to learn to, like, not be such a soldier. You know what I mean?
No, I know. And that's why I say it goes back to that line that Ultron says, you're just a soldier ready for the next war, or you're just a soldier who needs war or something.
That's the thing, is that's how he felt. That's how he felt in Winter Soldier, but by the end of Winter Soldier, he was good. Like, that was his arc in Winter Soldier.
Yeah, it wasn't.
So why is he going back through this?
But it wasn't. He didn't put a full closure for it. He didn't. And that's what I mean, is he's still not ready to move forward from his past life. He literally throws a line to Bruce. He says, take it for somebody who is like the king of, like, waiting, or whatever the fuck he says. I can't remember what the line is. He's like, make your move. You know what I mean? But, like, it's just it. Like, he's still stuck. And that's why I say it's not that he's not worthy. He is. It's just he's not confident enough on his worthiness. I don't know. Whatever. I don't know how to explain it. Okay. It's one of those really weird things to explain. But I in my head, I feel like I know what I mean.
Well, I know what you mean, but I also think that maybe if that is the case, they didn't focus in on it enough. There's not enough there. Like, you have to really kind of dig for that, and it might be true, but they could have worded or worked it out a little bit better in the movie to make that a more clear cut like character arc for him. But so he goes and he finds the truck, and he jumps on and starts fighting with Ultron, and Nat jumps out of the Quinjet on the bike, which I actually love. Like, the camera work for her, like when she's like weaving in and out of the traffic, and it's like zooming in and out. It's really fantastic. And he drops his shield, and she grabs it for him and, like, gets it back to him.
Yep.
And he's fighting with Ultron on top of the truck. Clint tries to, like, draw out the other two bots that are in there, which he succeeds in doing, but
he does.
Kind of messes with them over. They're getting him. And then Natasha gets in.
Yes.
After Cap gets, like, knocked off, and then
she gets trapped.
Yeah, because the drones or the bots turn into, like, repulsors basically and start lifting the truck.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's something. Oh, I was going to say that I think there's something else going on during all this. And I want to say, is it cutting back and forth between this and Thor in the cave? I think it kind of is, isn't it?
Oh, no, it's not cutting back and forth. We do get Thor in the cave. It is. No, you're messing up. So when Tony.
Back and forth between something.
When Tony is having a discussion with. Fuck! They're having a discussion about the stones.
Right.
Like, Iron Man and them are finding something out at the same time that Thor is finding something out, and it's jumping in between them. And I believe it is the Infinity Stones that have a discussion in between the two of them. Like, they're learning the same information differently, and that's what it's cutting in between. So this is before the fight. Oh, no, it's okay. I know what it is now. So it's before the fight. It's building up when Tony says, "Oh, do you not have any way to find Nat any old?" No, that's what it is. It's after. Yes. So we have this fight. Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is. Now I remember. So we have this fight. There's not coming back and forth. I do believe there's a scene where Thor is getting to the cave, but it doesn't go back and forth. Nat gets captured. You can see the concern on Clint's face. He's like, "Where's Nat? You see Natalie?" And again, Captain America, focus on the mission. He tells him, "Hey, bitch, take your shit and shut the fuck up." Like, basically, is what he's telling him. Like,
get the package out of here or whatever. Yeah.
He shows literally zero concern for Nat. And, so she gets captured. And then as they start to learn about the location of, there's some other stuff that goes down, but as they start to learn the location of where Ultron is, from Iron Man's side, you're learning about the Infinity Stones from Thor's side. That's what's going on. That's what they're cutting in between, back and forth. That's what's going on.
Yes.
Oh, I remember what's going on in between. What's going on in between? Yeah, what's going on in between this? Not between this, but before this, it goes to Nat. She's captured.
No, this is after. This is still after, though.
Yeah. Wait, did I skip something? What did I skip? Please.
Well,
please.
I just realized. Yeah, we forgot that the whole train sequence. Like, he gets on a train at some point. I don't even know.
It's a bus.
Oh, well, no, it's like a subway like track because it goes off rails.
Oh yeah, you're right. Never mind. My bad.
I guess they somehow get knocked on there, and he's fighting Ultron on there. And then Pietro and Wanda show up, and they have this kind of nice little team-up moment where he's saving people from the train, which is super cool. The way he's just like running out, like that's a perfect use for him, and she's trying to slow it down.
Yep.
And yeah, they just they just team up in like this
Hey.
very good way, and this is where he finally realizes they could be useful.
Tell me
I don't make that
you
weird
didn't
laugh. What's wrong
think
with you?
because tell me you didn't think that guy got yeeted by the train. The
Who?
very first guy that gets saved by Quicksilver, bro.
Oh,
It
'cause he
literally
throws him?
waits. Yeah, because he throws him, but it waits till the last possible second for him to save him. Like literally, like it's the very. So at first you're like, oh shit, he's hit by the, but he didn't. It's Quicksilver that saves him. It's just so funny. The first time I saw it, I was like, oh damn, that guy got hit by the. Oh no, okay, never mind. It was just good.
No, he's good. Yeah, she gets captured. We cut back to this, and he's like, put out some feelers, see if you can find where she is, and all this. And in the meantime, he is convincing Bruce to do the exact same thing again, except this time combine Jarvis in with the Mind Stone. And I'm a little iffy about like Bruce being like coming around to it so quickly. Like he kind of has to argue with him, but he's still like, yeah, let's do it. You know what I mean?
It's because he also
Like
had Jarvis telling him too.
What?
It's also because he has. Okay, so two things. Ready? A. Bruce does not do good under pressure, as we know, because he can't argue, he can't fight because he's scared of letting the Hulk out. Yes, and it's on purpose, and that's why he gets pressured by both Jarvis, not super by Jarvis, but definitely mostly by Tony. Tony does play into his like, oh, and then Jarvis is like, oh, I think it's worth a shot, and then Bruce isn't going to argue because Bruce is scared of turning into the Hulk. You know, the part where he tells him, Bruce, oh, sack up, like, Bruce doesn't do that because unfortunately he's too scared to. So he's just like, you know what? Yeah, this could work. So I think he does that where he bends to what people are asking him to do. I do believe that because he doesn't want to have to turn into the Hulk. He's scared of confrontation. So it does. It makes sense.
Yeah, I like that. Okay. So they do it. They start it. And everybody else comes in and immediately, well, because at the end of the train scene, he's like, Wanda asks, like, where's the cradle? Like, where's the body? And Cap's like, it's safe. It's with Tony. And she's like, no, that's not. No, he's going to do something stupid.
I don't think you understand. I brainwashed him.
Yeah, and Cap's like, no, he's good. She's like, no, he's not. And Cap's like, oh, okay, you might be right. Then he calls him, and he's not picking up. So then they run back, and then now we're caught back up because I keep forgetting stuff. So now we're caught back up. They run in to stop him. Immediately, Quicksilver just shuts everything down, which is good because if they hadn't had him do that, you would have been like, well, why didn't Quicksilver just like run in and just turn everything off? So they actually like realistically like that's what would happen. Like he would go and turn it all off.
He gets bested. Quicksilver, he gets bested. You hear the gunshot. You don't know where it's coming from.
You see it coming straight up.
Yep, straight up. Yep.
And and that's Hawkeye. And then
is that when he falls? Is that when Hawkeye says, "What? You didn't see that coming"? Is that when he says that? Yes.
Well, it's 3 times. Then there's the last time at the end when Pietro says it again.
Yeah, you know. When he's fucking Swiss cheese.
So somehow he turns on like a backup transfer where it continues to go, and then the last they're fighting and getting like thrown around to the glass, like he's fighting with Cap and stuff.
Yeah, Cap shuts down the second. By the way, Cap shuts down. No, he doesn't turn it back on. He doesn't. He tries to turn it back on, and then Cap takes the shield and breaks the rest of the mechanisms. So he doesn't even get a chance to turn it back on, and it starts to tell you critical failure that he's about to die, and you see like Vision's like fingers like kind of vibrating like he's having a fucking seizure. And they're all fighting back and forth. They kind of blow each other back, and then Thor shows up,
runs in, jumps straight on it, boom, hits it hard.
Yep.
And a couple of seconds pass, and then the cradle blows open, and out jumps Vision in this weird like floaty, foggy, like floats up almost, but he's like jumping at the same time. It's this weird thing, and he has like a moment. He has like this moment where he like attacks Thor, but Thor like kind of ducks and throws him over, and then he like stops and he stares at himself. He stares at the world. Yes, funny. I love the way he so abruptly stops at the window. It's like, shoo! He just like immediately stops it up. Like
he soaked it in. By the way, I don't know if you realize that, right? Like, the way they shot that shot is because it's out of focus from him, right? And it's him focusing on the world for a second. And then as he starts to like take a breath in and realize, oh wait, I'm Vision, it focuses on him, and then the world becomes like unfocused because it's him finally coming to terms like, oh, okay, yeah, I got everything. And then
at the same time, he's kind of soaking in everything out there and all this information.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That, as the information reaches his brain, he becomes clothed. He put his green sort of comes out. And then, he looks at Thor and takes the cape they have a whole discussion. They're like, well, can we trust you? What is this? What are you? What are you doing? And he's like,
wait, no, don't talk about the hammer yet, because my actual favorite line in that whole thing is they ask him straight up, like, are you on our side? And he's like, no, that's complicated. He's like, I'm on the side
I'm
of
on
life,
the side of
life. Yeah, which means he's not technically siding with the Avengers, because that could
Not yet.
also mean for future references, if the Avengers at any point unfortunately do conflict with what's natural or right for life, he could step in and be like, I gotta stop you. And that's what they build that up as. Anyways, yeah, go ahead, continue.
He's just like, yeah, I'll help you guys. I don't want Ultron to be doing all this no stuff. And yeah, then he just hands Thor his hammer and we're off. Well, let's not even talk about it.
And then, so nonchalantly, he just hands him the hammer.
Yeah, it's just a quick turn, like, let's go.
Everybody's like dumbfounded for a second. They're like, what? Like, they're looking at each other like, what the fuck just happened? And then Thor goes up to Tony. He's like, good job. And he taps him on the shoulder and he just walks out. Yeah.
So I do have a thing, though, and I want to know, like, so is Vision considered... What's the concept here? Is it because he's considered a machine, and if you're not a living thing, any non-living thing can lift the hammer? No, because that wouldn't make any sense.
No, because
so it must
Vision
be that he's so perfect,
yes,
as life that he can just immediately pick it up.
Yes, because don't forget, Vision is not. He's a very complex character because he is technically an android.
Or is it just because of the Mind Stone?
It's because of the Mind Stone. That's what I was going to say. It's because of the Mind Stone.
Can overcome anything, pretty much.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. He is still good. He is still genuinely good.
Right.
But this also goes against science versus magic because, I mean, yeah, like you can't really tell the effects of the two. But I just think it's meant to be like he's that good.
Let's see, so they are taking off and they're going to Sokovia because I forgot where he was. So they start to they know that something's going down, so they start trying to evacuate the city. And I wrote, Wanda is just like sitting in the middle of the city, like influencing all these people, like 100 people at a time from a distance. And I'm like, why does she have to get up next to the Avengers? Like, why didn't she just like stand in a corner and just snake it over there? And you know what I mean?
Yeah,
he had to get like right up on them. But anyway,
and then Quicksilver had an amazing moment where he enters. He's like, hey, the city's in trouble. You should all evacuate. And then he leaves, and everybody's just like, what the fuck ever? And then he comes in with a gun. He just shoots it into the air. He's like, let's go. Like, what the fuck are you guys doing? It's so good.
I like that, but I'm also like, who is in this like random country just like sitting there and chilling in your police station, and then a man with super speed appears, says, hey, move, disappears, and you're just like, go back to eat my donut. Like, you're not at least like, whoa.
How used to it? Yeah, how used to it?
Like, how used to it are you? Like, good lord.
True.
But so Ultron reveals. He doesn't reveal his plan yet, but they go to the church.
How did we? Wait! No, we got to go back. Oh god, we missed two really good lines from Ultron that are actually really important because it's a subversion of typical movies, right? And it's when Tony first appears during the claw thing, and he's like, "Oh, this is the part where I talk about my plan, right?" Bam, and then he hits like Tony.
It's like,
and then he does it again.
It's funny. Good thing you asked that because I was just wanting to explain my evil plan to you, and then he's like, and again, Tony and him know each other too well. But it's sort of more he knows Tony too well because when they have that moment later, and he's like, you're trying to buy time. He's like, yeah, me too. No, he's like, it's not gonna work. He's like, I'm gonna do my thing, and then boom, he gets the type thing. He's like, yeah, I was trying to buy time too. But anyways, yeah. And then it happens to him again later, but he doesn't realize Thor would be capable of doing it because Thor does actually manage to save time without Ultron realizing it. But anyways, yes, back to the beginning of this whole, everybody escaping. And the fact you said that also reminded me that a little bit ago, Hawkeye does find Nat because she like jury rigs this thing and starts, tapping a message to him. But how does she know where she is? How?
So I think
she's unconscious when she gets there. She just wakes up in this place, and then she's just like, "Hey, here are my exact coordinates." Like, how do you know?
Yeah, true. That's the weird part, right? Like, it's like,
but like, it's not a big deal. It's just like they didn't put it in there into detail they missed. But it's like, come on now, how did you figure that out?
Yeah, true.
But so he meets him in the center of the church, and like you said, buying time and all that. And I don't remember exactly what happens to her. I think it gets active because he said like, I'm buying time too, and then he activates the machine, and his plan is revealed. Like the whole city
Activated, but
starts
he
to
slams
raise.
it down. He doesn't raise it yet. He slams it down, and oh yeah, you know what? He does. He activates it, and they're like, and she's like, I think it's, I don't know. I don't think he has a name for her yet, but Friday is like,
No, he does. Well, he doesn't.
does he?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, no, he starts calling her Friday because you
Maybe
even
I
see
can't
it
remember.
when he loads her up. It's like labeled Friday.
Oh yeah. And then she's like, oh, this is where the rest of the vibranium went. Blah blah blah. Yeah, and so yeah, I think the city starts to get lifted, and you have like all these little back and forth moments. Shit starts to go crazy. Some of the more notable things that I remember. Yeah. Actually, go ahead because you have your notes, and we'll see. Go ahead.
Well, maybe I don't even know what I wrote this for, but I said there's again some cool Quicksilver moments here where he's doing some different things, running through the city and stuff.
It's because I believe he does save a few people from, typical like speed things, but he does not shine that much in this. We do have some awesome moments where Scarlet Witch starts to doubt herself. Also, if we start to talk about this out of order, please, like me, I'm completely have no notes, so mine's completely out of order. But Scarlet Witch has her moment where she starts to freak out, and Hawkeye pushes her to the side, and he's like, it's okay if you want to stay in here. I will get your brother. He can come get you, and then you guys can, do whatever you got to do. He's like, or if you step out these doors and help me fight these people, he's like, you're an Avenger, and it's your job. And also, I like that he just basically like he shits on himself how the world does. Where he's like, I'm just a guy out here with a bow. Like
none of this makes any sense. Like I don't know what to tell you.
But and then it does. It hypes her up, and she decides to go out, and she has her little badass moment. And then,
he also. Well, I mean, that moment is again fantastic for Hawkeye. Like this movie does a really great job with his character, and he's almost
it makes me excited for the Hawkeye show.
Of this movie. I was going to say, I really hope that we see like him, like his family return, especially like we have a lot more with them. Yeah. I hope that comes back. But right when he says that to her, he busts out the door. He grabs. You saw him put it on his leg earlier. He grabs this little thing that turns into a bundle of like 5 arrows that he uses, which was so dope.
Yes, very fucking awesome.
And also, I never noticed for some reason. Like it was never in my mind that Friday is Irish. Like I don't know why that only hit me just this first time watching it.
I didn't know that, but I know that because I believe I can't remember. There's something that I played that had a Friday in it as a voice, and it's clearly meant to be Irish.
I don't know why it never like clicked with me before that. I was like, oh, what? Something sounds. Oh, she's Irish. Like I don't know why.
Yeah, Jarvis was English, so
yeah, weird. Well, him. I just want to say, like the city, like lifting the city and dropping the city is such a visually and just everything about that is such a cool concept. As a, like, not just your typical like shoot a blue laser down and blow up the planet or do this. This is such a cool way to do
this. This is you ready? This is I use the planet to destroy the planet kind of plan. That's exactly what it is. But I mean, yeah, he just lifts up this whole gigantic city to essentially because he does say earlier in the movie, I'm partial to like the meteor. He's like,
and believe me, he's winding up, like talking about God.
Yeah, God, I love that whole thing. That whole section, he's like, humans have been facing extinction since the dawn of time. He's like,
before the dinosaurs. There's like a dozen extinction level events before they ever came around.
Yeah,
every time humanity starts getting out of control, God throws a stone at it, and believe me, he's winding up. I'm like, oh,
so good, dude. That line is very well done. Again, it's him throwing his fucking amazing acting.
Yeah, and it's a great line, and it would be so much better if there was better motivation behind what he was doing. Because then I'm like, oh, but like I'm like, that's so dope. But then I'm like, oh, why does he even want to do this in the first place? Like,
yeah.
But it's such a great line. I can't help but just be like, ooh,
I think he ends up so. I'm going to go back to your motivation thing. Let's take a break for a second because we're all over the place with this final finale.
This is going to be like a 40-hour episode.
No. Just real quick. This isn't even going back. It's like back to the motivation thing, but not actual back to the scene. He essentially, again, he's an evil Tony Stark, and an evil Tony Stark would want to be a fucking god, and that's exactly what he's going for. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, we have the final city. Some of the more notable moments are you have the Hawkeye and Quicksilver moment where Quicksilver, I believe he saves Hawkeye. He says something smart to him. I can't remember what it is. And then Hawkeye's like, I could do it, and nobody would know.
Nobody would know.
Yeah,
just say he got
I don't know.
hit by a robot, and I wasn't even around. I just found him.
Yeah. And
there's a point where a car goes off a cliff, and Thor has to save it.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It looked bad. Like it's the worst CGI in this movie. It is very obviously a green screen for the whole thing. And I don't know. It should have been cut, to be honest with you. Like, I don't even think it needed to happen for any reason. Like, there was no reason that needed to happen. They should have just cut it because it did not work.
No, there's another scene where Cap's saving people, and he saves a girl that's like falling off like the bridge or the broken highway or whatever the fuck it is, and the robot attacks, and he goes to say something. He's like, "You didn't finish!" Like,
yeah.
He's like, "What was that?"
It's because Ultron's talking to him, and then he just like cuts him and throws him off.
Yeah,
great. I love all that stuff with Cap on the bridge, like him just being like that lone defense on the bridge, and he is taking them out in like the coolest ways. Like it's just so some good stuff for him.
Yeah. Then we have the Nat getting saved by Bruce.
Yes.
And she's like, and Bruce was all for running away at this moment. He's like, we could leave. Yep. And she's like, you know, I love that about you, but I need the other guy. Like they kiss, and she pushes him, and she's like, but I need the other guy. So she
jumps straight back up,
and he's mad for like a second at her. Is he not? Right? Like his rage is at her for a second. She's like. And I swear she like says something. I don't fucking remember.
Maybe. I think he just jumps up and he's like, "Oh," like he usually would be, and then he picks her up and they go. Because you got to remember as well, like Hulk would be like, "Yes, let's do this. I want to smash some stuff." So he's not gonna be mad. Like Bruce is probably not happy about it, but Hulk is like, "Thank God, thank you for doing that." But so then, and I actually forgot up until that point that they like weren't on the floating city, so he has to jump her up there, which is very cool. It's
visually awesome. Visually, for a moment. You know what? That's towards the end. Anyways, let's keep going.
Okay. Yeah, and then this is around the time when S.H.I.E.L.D. shows back up. They're like, we can't get all these people out of here. There's no way. Like this place thing is going to drop, and we've got to destroy this. Like the only way to stop these billions of people from dying is to destroy the whole thing. But they're like, no, we're not sacrificing the people on here.
Mm-hmm.
And then
he's like, we're not going to get everybody off. And she's like, well, we didn't say we all had to leave. And she's like, I've seen
worse ways to go.
There's more ways to go. She's like, well, besides, where else am I going to get, you know?
That view was good.
Yeah, and then you hear, I can make it better, or whatever the fuck he says. I can't remember. And then he comes up with a helicarrier. I can't remember exactly what he says. I'm sorry.
I like that. Let me make it better.
But yeah,
I wish that was what he said.
But, you know,
and then the helicarrier shows up, and you know, this is a good moment. I feel like it's honestly like it's a good moment, but if you're not even thinking about it, you don't even realize like they're basically saying like S.H.I.E.L.D. is back. Like this is it. Like this is when S.H.I.E.L.D. returns, but they don't make a big. It's almost more of like a hero moment of them showing up to save the day, and not like S.H.I.E.L.D. is back. So you can kind of miss it in a way.
You ready for this?
I'm ready.
Remember how we said, this is the end of S.H.I.E.L.D. I wonder what they do to the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Wrong. S.H.I.E.L.D. is back. They're pretty sure they just continued Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. regularly.
Because Agents of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was going on like directly after Winter Soldier, like a new season. Because like when Winter Soldier, like they knew what was gonna happen ahead of time. So when they made whatever the season was coming out, they planned for that. So Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. did have to deal with the fallout of that.
Oh no, I know.
Came back anyway, but they did have episodes where they were like, S.H.I.E.L.D. is no longer a thing.
No, for sure, of course it did. Yeah, of course, but it didn't last as long as we were thinking. Like.
No,
we both said, I don't know how they kept the show going if S.H.I.E.L.D. was shut down. It's because S.H.I.E.L.D.
I knew that S.H.I.E.L.D. came back, but like I also was like, they just kind of show. Like in my mind, I was like, they just kind of come back, and they do just kind of come back. Like they're just like they're here again. This is it. Now they have a helicarrier. We're just kind of undoing that. So that's it's whatever. It's not the worst thing in the world, I guess. But so and the Winter Soldier in Winter Soldier, there's the guy that refuses to push the button to launch Insight.
Yes,
he's back,
and he's promoted.
Yeah, I love that. That was such a nice little like callback to that. That he's like he's doing stuff. He has a lot of lines. He's saying some things. He's freaking out when bots fly through windows and all this stuff. So that was cool. And then also when the helicarrier arrives, Rhodey shows up. I was thinking like why is Falcon not there? Like why is it just War Machine?
You know why though, right?
I don't.
Falcon's on his own mission. Do you not remember the line that he says?
Yeah, but. I mean, I guess, but then he's there at the Avengers compound at the end. Why is that supersede his mission to just train a little bit as opposed to saving the world?
No. I'm pretty sure this is just him meeting up with Cap and becoming an Avenger or whatever. I'm pretty sure Cap at this point was like,
they're there to train.
Yeah,
right?
Saying, but
he's like, let's whip him in shape.
Yeah,
how is that more important than supersede his mission than saving the world?
It's not, because I'm pretty sure Cap at this point was just like, hey, you should come back and we should wait and we should get this new team built, because at this point they lost most of the Avengers, so they had to build a new team. And at this point, he's part of it. Falcon's part of it at this point. But anyways, we're skipping a lot.
There is a point where Tony kind of figures out what he's going to do. He's going to like go in and dig underneath and get into the core.
Yes.
And as he says that, and as he realizes it, I love this. I don't think as far as I can remember, this hasn't happened in any of the other movies. It's the only time I've ever seen it done is it goes from his POV inside the helmet and zooms out through the helmet.
Yes.
Like straight into him flying again. I'm like, that is great. Yeah. That is and so
no,
awesome.
It has not happened. I'm pretty sure this is the first time it happens.
I can't remember it for the life of me in anything else. I'm pretty sure it's the only time it happens. It's such a great shot. So they kind of all meet up at the center and they're like, we have to defend this thing. If he pushes this button, the whole city drops and that's enough to kill like 2 or 3 billion people. So you get that whole
this is where we get our hero mashup shot. This is where we get our real hero mashup shot. And this one is definitely better than the first one. It's really cool.
It's a little bit of a different. It's a little bit different. Like the other one was more of like the hero, like they're together now. This is more of like a fighting, like
they're working together,
you know what I mean? Like all together. Yeah.
But they have these amazing moments. I
mean, every time you watch this scene, you can pick a different character to watch and just find something new every time.
It's true. I actually watched the scene 3 times when I was watching it because I noticed something like a couple things, just nothing crazy, but like.
And I love to begin with, like before it gets into the real like revolving hero shot when it first starts and everybody's running in. There's no music. It's just straight up them just going ham, just like for the first like 30 seconds to a minute.
Yeah, Vision shows up to this fight, and Thor lets him use the hammer, and he's like, "What is it that he says?" He's like,
It's really well balanced.
Yeah. He's like, or something like that. And then Thor's like, well, yeah, if you put a little too much on here, it kind of takes away from the swing or whatever. So they have that nice little back and forth. By the way, kind of sad that Vision ends up dying because I pictured him in that Endgame scene using the hammer at some point. Whatever.
Yeah. Kind of a back and forth, but he's there and he's going into Ultron to remove him from the internet, basically, so that he can't fall back once they destroy all of his bodies. So that's kind of his purpose that he serves for this point. And then they're, huge revolving shot. Everybody's there. Pietro, Wanda, they're going ham. Everybody's destroying robots left and right. Can't remember exactly what happens. They get split off for some reason. Why do they leave? I guess they kind of they totally take down the bots, and then they get to Ultron. You get Vision, Tony, and Thor. Is it or who's Thor. And they're all blasting Ultron. And I wrote like, why did they stop blasting him? They could have just ended him right there. Like that was it. You know what I mean?
They kind of did
he throw him? No, because like he was fully melting. Like his face was melting. They totally had him, and then they just stopped blasting him. And then like Thor throws him or something. And it's like, or Vision throws him. And it's like, why did you not just?
Well, I think that specific bot is dead.
Huh?
I think that specific bot ends up dead. Does it not? Yeah, it does. No, it ends up in the train. It ends up in the It
ends up in the train, and then Wanda kills it, but it's not dead. Yeah. They could have just. But
killed it doesn't matter because they know. It doesn't matter because they know that that's not the final Ultron, though. They know.
But wouldn't you rather kill the strongest Ultron as opposed to one of the crappy Iron Legion bots that you could just easily kill later? Like, why would they not just melt him right then and there? It just didn't make any sense for them to stop.
Yeah, I know, but I think they knew they already had that one beat. Plus, they're trying to more evacuate. Their plan was originally evacuate as many people as you can and get out of there before, the worst thing could happen. Plus, if they dropped the city, they fucking knew Ultron would have been dead with it anyways. Or, in their mind anyways.
So, they get rid of him, and then they all split off to go and continue to try and evacuate people, and Wanda stays behind to protect the switch. And there's a moment where Pietro, runs up, and she's like, go and help him move the stuff off, and he, cracks a little joke, and she laughs back at it, and I'm like, this is kind of nice. There's a nice, connection between the two of them somewhere that just kind of got buried in all of this that didn't really shine or wasn't as good as it could have been.
They didn't feel as brotherly and sisterly as they could have.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. They made attempts at it. They just didn't put enough into it, Hawkeye is almost done. He's got everybody off. And then, there's a kid. There's a stupid little dumb little nerdy little four-eyed kid.
Fucking kid, he's wearing glasses. He's not wearing glasses, but he's a fucker. I can't stand this bitch ass. Why couldn't he die? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, in fact, somebody should have killed him. Yeah, of course, he has to run back in and save him. And you can see he's like, oh, God. He's like, no.
And it's funny because this is where you're thinking, oh, shit, we're about to lose Hawkeye.
Yep. Immediately, he just, grabs the kid and, tries to shield him because Ultron comes... Because, see, that's the thing! Ultron gets in the Quinjet and comes back and starts shooting people up. They should have killed him!
Yeah, he shoots at Hulk, yeah.
Yeah, he's not even in the train yet. I thought he was. Yeah, but he comes back, and that's his regular body. They should have taken that thing out. This would never have happened.
Yeah,
But anyway,
You're right.
anyway, yeah. So he puts the car in front of them, which I somehow like when I had talked about this scene in the past. I did not remember that he put a car in front of them for some reason. Like
No,
I was always
I
like,
did. Because the bullets
I
were going
was
through
like,
the wall.
how did he block the bullets? I was like, what? Like had forgotten that there was a car there. So he does that, gets riddled, SpongeBob style, lots of holes, and he's down. And he's like, "You didn't see that coming." And then he falls over and dies. And yeah, and so but then they take his body back, and I really actually love, like, if there had been more connection and more build up again, like, and focus on it, when you get that top down shot of Hawkeye just exhausted and he lays down on the bench and he's just laying next to his dead body. It's like that would be like super effective if there was a better connection there. Like, and you were more into Pietro and like that had worked. Like that's like a powerful shot of him just being like exhausted. It's like, I'm just gonna lay down and they're just right next to each other. So very cool, but unfortunately wasn't as emotionally powerful as it could have been.
Yep.
Yeah. Hulk goes bye-bye because he gets on the Quinjet and throws off Ultron. That's
again,
when he
not
goes
finishing him.
into the
Again,
bus.
not finishing him, throwing him.
Yeah, exactly. They're just tossing him around like a ball.
Real quick, when Quicksilver dies, I mean, Wanda immediately knows.
She
feels
unleashes everything within her, which again is sort of a hint towards WandaVision, and that like when she experiences grief, she cannot control herself.
Yep.
And it does not end well. But yeah, so Hulk gets on there and he's flying away for a little bit. They hit the switch. He hits the switch somehow. He gets a bot in there because Wanda's distracted. And everything starts falling. Pretty much everybody gets off except Tony goes back underneath it. And what is his plan? It's just to like blast in. What does he do?
I cannot
puts
remember.
Something in there, and then Thor strikes it from the top with lightning, and then it just causes the whole thing to explode.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then that's how they stop it basically. And I swear they were like somehow they're over the ocean at this point. Like, wouldn't it still be right above the whole town? Like, how did they get above the ocean? That's what I don't understand. It was going straight up, right? Like, it wasn't moving one way or the other to get over the top of the ocean. But the pieces all go in the ocean and nobody gets hurt. So,
what do you mean? Plenty of people got hurt. So did you not watch Civil War? Anyways.
Well, yeah, people on the city, I'm sure, but I mean, I'm talking about like when it comes down, they kind of imply that all the pieces of the island they blew up just kind of like fall in the water because Tony goes in, Thor goes in, you see all the pieces dropping in.
Oh no! In Civil War, there's a scene where the pieces do fall on land. We do see it fall on land. You'll
is that
see
what it was?
Yeah. There's a scene. There's a couple scenes. There's even a scene where she says, "Isn't there a scene where she talks about her son?"
She was saying she was. I thought she was talking about like, he was in the actual city when it went up. Like, and the building.
No, she said a building. Did she not say? Yeah, did she not say a building dropped on him?
Yeah, but that doesn't mean no. There was no buildings to drop on him when they blew it up. It's just chunks of like land at that point. All the buildings pretty much collapsed when the first.
But it doesn't matter. It didn't fall over water. I'm telling you, because I swear there's a scene that they show where when it breaks apart, it falls in. Part of it falls on the city, or part of it falls on the ground below. That's not just water. So
we'll make a note of it when we get to Civil War.
Yeah, sure. We definitely should. We're almost there. Very close.
Yeah.
2 movies away, actually.
Yeah. Wow, that's exciting.
Actually, very much so.
So yeah, they're done. They go back. What happens?
See, people, this is what we mean.
Or just dips, right? He's just like,
I gotta go. No, he doesn't leave. No, he doesn't leave.
He does. I mean, we're talking about the end. I'm talking about the end.
No. We skipped a couple parts. We skipped a couple parts that were slightly important because we skipped where Ultron comes back in that shitty body, and Vision's and Vision's
plus like Wanda pulling his heart out in the bus as well.
And Vision's like, the thing about life is, or the thing about these people are, they'll surprise you, blah, blah, blah. He gives that typical, like, oh, humans are so strong and they'll surprise you, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then he's like, you're so naive. And he's like, well, I was just born yesterday. And then,
and then destroys
boom, and then
there's also Hulk flying away and Black Widow is trying to call him back.
Big guy. Yeah.
And he's just like, I don't know. I'm not sure if I fully comprehend. I guess it's just that at this point, Bruce is so like, because but at the same time, Hulk is in control. Mm-hmm. So Hulk is in control. So it's just because she can't do it without like touching him and getting there to actually like bring him back. So because Hulk is in control, he's like,
that's not what it is. I'm pretty sure he felt rejected. I'm pretty sure he felt rejected and broken because he literally just asked Nat, "Hey, run away with me. Let's go. Let's do what we originally talked about." And she was like, "Nah," and she pushed him off the side of the edge. He's not upset about being pushed over the edge, but he's more upset about she rejected him. And now he's just completely shut down and let Hulk take over.
That's like, Bruce though. That's Bruce. Bruce doesn't have any control over the Hulk though. Clearly, like he can't.
No.
He can't undo it.
At this point, he doesn't.
This is all Hulk. This is all
Hulk's choice.
Hulk. Yeah. So Hulk doesn't care. Hulk is I think just trying to remain Hulk. Like he just doesn't want to go back because he knows that she'll turn him back. It's not that he's mad about that because Hulk doesn't care, you know. Hulk just wants to go off Ragnarok and have some alien ladies, whatever he does in there. I don't know. I can't remember. It's weird, but so it's just, I guess it's just Hulk being like, nah, I'm not trying to, like, because that's the whole thing in Ragnarok. He's like, I'm never turning back. I don't want Banner to ever come out again. Like, I want to be the one in control. So he's flying away. He's bye-bye. And then we're back to them at the base. They're talking to Thor, and they start bringing up like Vision grabbing the hammer and like, so, but if you put the hammer in an elevator and it goes up. But the elevator's not worthy, and they're just trying to figure out like what that means. And he takes off. He bifrosts away. Tony and Cap have their little kind of discussion, and Tony leaves. And Cap goes back in with
the new Avengers team.
Yeah, well, with Black Widow, and they walk in, and he's like, "Avengers!"
No, wait. Again, we have a very human moment with Black Widow where Nick Fury is like, "Oh, this landed here," which this scene was stupid, but he's like, "Oh, hey, I think it crashed in the ocean. It could be the Quinjet." And she's like, "Yeah," and like you can see that she's completely heartbroken. And to Nick, he's still in assassin mode because apparently he's not realizing it. Or he just doesn't care. Where he's just like, "Oh, it'll be okay. You'll send your postcard." And he walks away, but you can clearly see that she is fucking devastated. I
kind of think that she knows, based off of the conversation that she had where he shut it off, I think she knows that Hulk's in control and he's going somewhere and he's not coming back, at least not for a while. So
but that's what I'm saying. She's
Fury thinks he's just going to transform back like he normally does, but she knows better.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is she's completely devastated. Like you can see, it kills her. Like it fucking kills her. This is like the first love she's had in a while.
For sure.
And it kills her. But yes, then we go to the compound. He's talking to people. He's like, it ends with the classic Avengers and no assemble.
Yeah, the Fantastic Four, but people actually like this one, which we've talked about before, like how if Fantastic Four had been a better movie and they did that name in thing, people would have liked it. But because the movie wasn't good, everybody was like, "Oh, that's so cringy." But then you look at this, and everybody loves this scene. You know what I mean? Like everybody's like, "Oh yeah, he says Avengers, but he doesn't finish it. It's so cool."
Yeah.
So it's like there's kind of some bias there in terms of like that trope, I guess.
Yeah.
But and then post-credit scene, fine, I'll do it myself.
Yes.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Still not even remotely close. I mean, we don't get the real Thanos until Infinity War, I guess, because it wasn't until that movie they were like, "Oh, we can't really make this believable unless we put in more of Josh Brolin," I guess.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. So overall, it's a good movie, like we said in the beginning, but there's something off about it. But it's also extremely inflated to almost an exhausting point because there's 3 moments in that movie where you could feel like the finale. It could have been like the wrap up or the finale, and like boom, we get thrown another thing. It's just like, especially like that whole like Sokovia scene. Like, dude, that one felt like it's slightly, not that it dragged on, but that one felt like it could have been over sooner. But overall, it's still a decent movie.
Cut that car scene with Thor, and there you go. That's what I'm talking about.
But I mean, overall, I enjoyed it. It's still, surprisingly enough, a lot of people probably won't agree with this. I like the original Avengers more than I like this one.
Almost 90% of people would agree with you. This is like, people tend to agree that this one is not as good as the first one.
Yeah.
100%. I think this is easily the weakest Avengers movie.
Yeah.
Just because it also kind of doesn't feel...
development.
Like the first Avengers felt like such a big deal, and this one just kind of felt like, it's hard to make a follow up to that. Like, but it's just like they're just kind of they're a team now, and they're doing team things, So, but still very enjoyable. A lot of good and very, a lot of far-reaching effects on the overall like overarching MCU. Like a lot of stuff comes out of this. Vision, setting up more of the Thanos, the Mind Stone, all the Infinity Stones, all this stuff.
For sure.
So, yeah, a lot coming out of that. Plus Wanda as well.
Mm-hmm. We got a lot. We got a lot.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a lot in there.
But yeah, anyways, yeah. So if you stayed for this very long episode,
oh god, I don't want to edit it. Oh no!
But yeah, it's long, dude. It's long. But anyways, yes, thank you for tuning in. And we will see you guys next time.
Yep. See you.
Holy shit, Drew. You got so much to edit, boy.
See,
It's almost 2 hours, dude.